This is Flat Out Agility, an Australian agility podcast. I'm Grace. In this episode, I'm joined by agility competitor, former junior and multinationals winner, Molly Morgan, and we're going to talk about agility for juniors. So to start us off, Molly, can you share with us your agility journey?
So I started agility when I was about 11 years old, I want to say. I don't know exactly, but I think around that age. And I actually got to start with two dogs. So I started with Hazel and Buddy. Buddy's one that a lot of people may know. He's one that I've taken up high quite a lot in agility. So he's won a few national titles now. And since then, I've also gained two border collies, of course, because border collies are the best. And I've also been able to compete with them at national levels and do really well with them. So I started training dogs through Instagram. So my very first intel of the agility world and the dog world was creating an Instagram for my dog Hazel. And through there, I met a lot of other young people on Instagram and we all taught tricks to our dogs. And then that gateway kind of entered into, I want to take this trick training into something maybe a bit more serious. So then I started to looking into agility, and my dog was still quite young at this age, so I had to wait till she was 1 to start. But by that point, I was fully just in love with the sport of agility, and I just took away with it. And as soon as I started, you couldn't get me away.
And how did you learn it? Like, what was your process? Like, did you go to a club? Did you go to classes?
So I was very happy to be. I went to Manly Dog Training Club, who I'm still trained with to this day. We've brought through a few juniors now, but yeah. So it was a little bit of a gateway problem with age, which was the most thing where people would hear your age and think that you weren't capable of handling a dog, which is completely wrong. I hate when clubs have a set age limit. I think if a child is able to handle a dog, that it should be up to them. So that was the biggest problem, was finding a club who would allow me to be able to come and train my dog. And that was mainly a district dog training club. And we're still trying to improve how we handle juniors and everything to this day. So it's a never ending battle.
And what is the scene like for juniors in Australia, like since you were a junior and sort of today?
This is quite a controversial question, I may say, but I personally don't think that agility juniors have much of an agility scene. I don't. When I was a junior, I was the only junior almost. I think I had one other person who's left quite early on when I started, but I was basically the only junior competing in New South Wales. I didn't have a scene. I didn't have anybody else there. And the most of an agility scene and community that I had was on Instagram. And I did find that on Instagram, but I feel like there's so much more that can be done for juniors here that hasn't been yet. And that's what I'm really excited to hopefully in the future to begin and get it starting and really create that scene for juniors here, because we see it so well in other countries.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get into that, but I want to hear a little bit more about what's available here at the moment. So is there like an upper age limit? Like how old do you what's the age range to be considered a
So
junior?
so we allow juniors to compete from the age of 7 upwards to 18. So 18 is sort of the cutoff for juniors. That's when you become an adult and you have to compete against adults. Um, I don't know about other states necessarily, but I do know that for New South Wales, we do have a junior award. So at the end of the year, we have the best junior award, and that goes to the dogs awarded with the most points throughout the past agility season, and that goes to best junior. I do know that the nationals every 2 years, we have the junior team event. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot more than that. So we have individual state awards and the nationals event, which is every 2 years. And I think there's a big gap that we can feel right there.
And what are some of the biggest like challenges that juniors face in agility? You've already mentioned that, there's not a lot of you. So what is sort of the biggest problems that you face?
I think the biggest problems is having the accessibility to do it. The accessibility is a big problem. I was fortunate enough to have a club close by to me, but I do know there's many clubs there that don't allow juniors upwards of like they don't allow them to train with them until they're like 14 years old. And I have heard of that. And by that point, kids have already found a sport. Like, you kinda get to that age of 10 and they found netball, they found soccer. Their weekends are done. We've lost that age where we can grab them in. So that's probably the biggest issue is we not getting them in quick enough, and that's our problem. We're just losing them.
Yeah, and I guess also, like, as you're saying, you're limited by the clubs that are available because,
Yeah.
you're also kids obviously are reliant on transport and so on.
Yeah, I'm very, like, fortunate to have my mum who has gone everywhere with me and she loves it, but not every parent is like that. Not every parent gets that involved with agility. Um, but the accessibility of agility, it's not a big thing. Like, it's not something where everybody knows what agility is. Like, I go to 9 of my friends out of 10, and they won't know what agility is, but they only know it because I do it. So it's sort of bringing that gap of making this just a dog sport and also bringing it into kids. Like, let's bring your kids here. This could be a kid sport. Like, it could be something more. It could be like netball. It could be like soccer and one of those summer sports that they could do.
Yeah, absolutely. Hadn't even thought of that, but yeah, it's barely known in adults anyway, so let alone like kids who are already, as you say, know all about netball, basketball, soccer, whatever, AFL.
Yeah, it's just not really seen as a sport.
Did being young when you started give you any unexpected advantages though?
I definitely think so. I'm a very competitive person, and I've grown up being competitive. I've grown up playing netball. I've grown up playing the competitive sports. I love being competitive, and I think the fact of me being young, I always found something to improve on, and I love that part. I love finding stuff to improve on. And when I was young, I just hammered it. I made it until it was perfect. Like, I think that's an advantage of young people is that we do have the time, when we're younger, we're still in school, that we have that fair little extra time when we're not working to really perfect those little bits, and we get really stuck into it. The juniors right now on the scene, they're perfectionists. Like, it's really cool to see.
And so we talked about other countries have sort of junior programs. So what do you know about these other countries and how does Australia compare?
So, I don't know a whole lot on the European side as much, but New Zealand and the US, they both run junior camp. So every year they have junior camp, and they go from one side of the country to the other biannually. I don't really know exactly that, but they hold these summer camps that it's set out like a camp where you send your kid to for sports or for that. And it's set out as like an adventure camp. Send your kid away for a week and let's teach them how to train a dog. Let's teach them how to walk a dog. Let's teach them how to feed a dog. And it's not only agility, it's obedience, it's rally, it's all the sports involved. But we don't have that camp here. And we don't have access to stuff like the Agility Junior World Open that they have over there. We don't have those junior world teams here. But what we can do is we can create that camp sort of environment where we say, let's set 1 week out of the year. Let's get some trainers from across all of Australia, maybe international, maybe not. Um, and let's spend a week with young people. Let's teach them. And it doesn't you don't have to own a dog. Like, we can borrow dogs. You don't have to bring your dog over from Western Australia. You can borrow a dog, but you're still going to get something really valuable out of that. That's something I think we should really look into is getting some sort of junior camp up and running.
What about, say, do you know what, you mentioned the Junior World Open, but are there other junior, like junior specific competitions that maybe we could take some inspiration from?
New Zealand, New Zealand have a very good program. So they have a whole separate junior category where juniors run competitions, juniors run their own competitions, so they're competing against themselves across the whole country, and they even get a state team to compete against the whole of, like, the adults. So, I don't know if you know exactly how our teams event works, but it is, like, state versus state versus state, and then the juniors are separate. There's also they may not have states, but they have what they call zones. So they have zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many they have, but they also have a zone dedicated to juniors. So the zone juniors get to compete against the adult. And I don't know, I can't say for the other juniors, but personally, when I was a junior, I didn't really want to. I wanted to compete against the adults. I wanted to be competitive against the best people in the sport here. And I think if I was given the opportunity, to try out for a spot to be able to compete against the adult team, I'd be a lot more interested in that personally. I really like that idea of showing up and beating the adults.
So you went to New Zealand to experience this camp. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so I went over to New Zealand and I was over there for a little while, went hiking after, but I went over with a few other juniors from Australia. So it was the first time we had this many people go over. So Nina, Jackie, Takaya, Isabella, we all went over to New Zealand for this camp, and it was about a week long. And since obviously we're from Australia, we got to borrow dogs. So we got to borrow a dog and take care of it and do everything for it. It became our dog for the week. And the owners of these dogs, very, very generous of them, but they let us handle the dog. They let us make the decisions for the dog. They taught us what to do and everything. But the dog was ours for the week, which I liked. um, the way it's just set up, it was fun. It was like I was a kid again. Like I was one of the oldest ones there, and I went there to experience it to possibly bring back to Australia. And we had kids that were 4. There were 4-year-olds there that were handling a dog and learning how to handle a dog and learning the behaviors of dogs, learning what to do, what not to do. Like, that's what I find crazy is they had 4-year-olds there. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was upwards of 50 juniors. So it was a proper summer camp. Like, it's a proper summer camp they run there. And the key thing that people keep saying is that we're not gonna get those numbers in Australia. And the key thing to remember is that they also didn't have those numbers for a number of years. It's taken them 10 plus years of building this up and building this community up to get to those numbers. And I met a lot of people there, a lot that I still talk to, which is really fun to see. So after the camp, when I went around, I was able to meet up with them around New Zealand again and see them again, which I found really fun. And that was like a community that I never experienced in Australia. I never experienced that sort of sense of community with other juniors. Whereas over there, I just fit in. It was just like, hi, we're all the same age, we're all young, we all really like dogs, we all have the same interests. It it was inspirational. Definitely.
And it's interesting about the population thing, like, because, 50 juniors, we might not get, as you say, in Australia right away, but our population is much larger than New Zealand. So
It
if they're
is.
managing that, why
It
couldn't
is.
we?
There are juniors on Instagram. There's a big community on there. There's a big community who don't do sports that are on there. But you interest this idea of a camp, and I've put out an expression of interest form, and I've gotten plenty of messages and plenty of interest in this. I reckon it will kick off, but it'll take that first few years to get it going and get our like wheels into it. It just needs the right group of people, and I think we can do it.
Just on the New Zealand camp that you went to, can you tell me about the training part of it? Like, what kind of training program experiences or like workshops were there available?
So the way they had it structured was they had us in groups sort of. So we had groups of people, and we it wasn't all just about agility or about obedience or about training our dogs. It was also about creating friends. So they put us in groups and we'd have a bunch of like friend building activities, playing games with our friends without dogs, which was also a really nice touch because we can't always have the dogs out. And then every day we'd have one agility session with a trainer, and they get their trainers from all across New Zealand, and they come down and you get separated into groups of it. So there'll be advanced, excellent masters, like how it would work out into groups. And there's also puppies and all of that sort of stuff. But you get agility session every day. And then they also did a fitness workshop as well. So there was a fitness and cool down and warm up workshop. There was an obedience and rally workshop. There was sled dogging like demos, and people came out to do demos for all the kids as well from different sports. Like, we may not necessarily be doing the sport, but there was lots of demos and learning about it. So that also got like kids interested in different sports. So it wasn't just agility, it was branching out to everything, which was also a really good touch, I think, that they do.
And did it feel like you were learning some real skills? It wasn't just sort of intro stuff. It was some deep
It was,
learning.
yeah, it was real skills. Definitely, especially I was in the advanced handling group for agility. Um, it was, yeah, we learned definitely new moves, definitely how to handle dogs, and I got to run a little border pap, which is very different to my dogs. So I was learning a lot about little dogs and little dog striding, which I'm not used to. So I found it really fun. I learned a lot, and I thank Donna for that and for just letting me run Team U. But I learned a lot from the camp. It was a lot of fun. I think I came back and I just said I had fun. Like I had a lot of fun with agility, which isn't always the case.
Yeah, and that's really great that, it's educational, but it's fun, which is gonna be the most important part.
Yes, yes, always fun. You always have to keep agility fun. Otherwise, why are we doing it?
Is there a country, I suppose you've experienced New Zealand, but is there a country where you've either been to or seen from, from across the ocean, a junior agility program that you sort of particularly admire or something that's, like, really sort of stand out?
I think the US, so the United States, do a really good program. I think it's Boundless Junior Agility Camp. So theirs is agility aimed, and they have like championships through that and runoffs and everything, like actual competitions that go through there and their own championship for juniors over there, which can qualify them for their national event. So it's a way for juniors to get qualified for these national events through junior only like invitations. So I think the US as well is one to look out for. They've been running it for a few years now, and I believe Takaya went over for one of for the Boundless Junior Agility Camp Championships, and she got to run a dog over there. So other countries are succeeding, and Australia's just about a little bit behind.
Maybe more than a little. And so obviously this is important to you and, its juniors are important to the long-term sustainability of dog sports, including agility. So, like, what role do you think that juniors are gonna play? Like, why do you think this is important?
Juniors are what we're going to bring through. How, like, they're going to be the ones that are going to teach new people. So why do we disrespect them so much? Why do we put them at such a low level when they're the future of our sport? They're the ones to come through. They're the ones to show everybody how to do it. We really need to start respecting them more. Like juniors are the sport. Juniors will be the future of our sport as we know it. So
So now let's get into, you can design from scratch your junior agility program for Australia. Tell me, what's it gonna look like? What's your plan? Let's go big
oh, there's too
picture.
many. There's too many. um, I'd love to design one where we're able to bring out international people. So I love seminars. I love learning from international. I love learning from people overseas and what they run over there. I love one day to have like big names like Dave Munnings, Petter, all of them come out for our camp, um, and be able to run seminars that are only for juniors. I love that so much. That's big picture. um, I'd also love like a bit of a crossover with like working with New Zealand a lot and doing what they do and crossing over with them. Um, Having New Zealanders come over to us, having Australians go over to them again. I think that would be really fun. Um, I think the hardest part will be finding the place to hold it, the place to put this down. It'll probably be the hardest place, but once we find it, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it one day.
And so you're currently thinking an annual camp? Is that your first sort of plan?
Yeah, I think an annual, I'd hope an annual one. Um, I like what the other countries do where they move it around the country. So it's not always in New South Wales, it's not always in Queensland. Um, so moving it around the place, making it accessible for everybody because not everybody has the money or the time to be able to fly a dog or fly over to a different state. So I do think moving it around, it does make it hard with Australia because we're such a big country. Like it takes a long while to get from state to state. So that's also a consideration to take in fact. But yeah, it's gonna happen. Gotta happen. I've got to
Uh,
find a group of people.
Yes, absolutely. And do you think that then your other parts of the plan might be, like you're saying, a sort of uh, a junior specific competition sort of branch of the
Yeah.
sport?
I'd love to be able to work closer with I'd love for it to become something where we could work closer with ANKC even and do almost what they do for the confirmation. Because if you look at confirmation, juniors have a lot more in confirmation than what they do in sport. There's junior only categories at the Easter show and everything, just for juniors, and best junior awards and best this junior. There are stuff for junior handlers there, but not for sport. So I'd love another like crossover with the NKC where we could add in like buys and everything to get to finals or XYZ and their own championship runs or own qualies. Like I'd love something where we could do something separate yet conjoined,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. But yeah, something has to be conjoined with ANKC in my opinion to make a real difference.
Yeah, I think that would be the best way to get the reach because each state
Yeah,
obviously has a state body.
yeah. I think conjoining states, like I think in New Zealand they have it where some of their qualifications for stuff is the same course set down in different states on the same day. So they're all running at the same day, the same course that's set up. That way they don't all have to be in the same place. Because then
Yeah, that's
it
smart.
gets really tricky when if there's a run down there for a qualification to be able to compete at the junior championships, for example, driving 18 hours from Queensland to get to Victoria doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of people. So setting that up where every state can run the same course on the same day, and then we take those results and then we create some sort of result or something where you can qualify for the championships and then take it higher to where we can make our own junior team from Australia that competes against the adult even. That could be a thought as well to take. So there's lots of ideas out there.
And what about international competition? Like, do you want more opportunities to create junior teams and send them overseas to? Because I know this year, WAYO, I believe, was the first time they ever sent any juniors.
Yeah, so it's the first time we've sent a team over for it in a while, actually, Wayo. It would be really cool to see those juniors also go over for JO, which is a junior open, a junior agility open, I think it is. Um, it would be really cool to be able to make a world team from Australia and send over a few juniors to go over there when we start to get those numbers in. That I didn't really think of that, but yeah, having some sort of qualification to create a world team to go over, that would be quite cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity, like, for different sort of streams because, like you say, not all kids are gonna be able to go to Europe, not all kids are gonna be able to go across states necessarily.
No.
There's still ways to do different kind of streams of what they can focus on.
Yeah. It'll be really cool to see that happen in the future. I really hope it does.
And so what are you doing for it right now? Like, are you working with your clubs or with the state, or what's your current sort of
Well, I know there's a few people on the New South Wales Agility Committee that are interested in starting something up. Um, the Glenray crew, we're all quite interested in getting it up and running. It's all about just we really need to sit down and discuss it. And I know Cam List, who's the organizer of the New Zealand camp, he's been super generous and has been willing to help us start it up and give everything that he's learned from running it in New Zealand to us and give us that feedback and what worked, what didn't work, so that we're not starting from scratch. We're starting from a formula that has already worked, but we just need to find the group of people to make it work. So far, there's a lot of people that have interest, so we're gonna have to get it started properly.
so it sounds like there's some background stuff happening, but now you've got to formally kick off.
Yeah, we'd have to formally kick it off at some point. It's always hard to do it.
And I think it sounds like there could be some big clubs because I know there's some big annual comps that sort of happen every year that could also potentially have like junior, offerings.
I haven't thought about much about clubs, but now that you say it, we do like I know that Manly Club we do a ranking, like a course day sort of stuff. So I do that could be a good thing to look at and see the upcoming juniors coming through clubs and capture them at the right stage and say, hey, you've showed really good progress through here. Like, would you like to have offered or something else? I would also like to see stuff like seminars being offered to juniors for junior only. So getting some seminar people out, like our own instructors, like something happening, but it being made for juniors. I think that would be fun too. Like junior only stuff.
And so you mentioned that your club was very supportive when you started. So what advice would you give to other clubs that want to support their junior members to try to help this process?
I think don't shut them down. I mean, I experience issues at my club still. Like there's still issues. I think the main thing is don't shut them down because of the age. Let them come, let them see if obviously you may have a kid that needs help or something else, but the parent will always be there. Like I know that our ruling in our club is if you're under 16, your parent must stay. So you always have to have a parent on the ground if you're under 16. And that's the baseline. Um, it could be older. I'm not 100% sure. But but I feel like so many clubs just hear the word junior and young people and go, they don't want to work with kids and they don't want to work with dogs at the same time. And it's a big problem. Like it's a lot to handle, but we've got to work with it because they're the future. If we're not allowing them to train, how do we expect them to be able to compete and be able to take over? We can't expect that from them.
And do you have any thoughts on, maybe like you were saying earlier about how sometimes kids just don't even know that this is even an option. So what would you say is maybe a way to get through to the potential juniors?
So grabbing that like dog interest, like there's so many kids who have dogs nowadays where they don't know this stuff exists. Showing them, having flyers around, maybe even reaching out to schools even. If you have a dog, do you want to come and try out agility? Like having junior days to try out agility. Like come try agility out and having a day just for kids so they can see what the sport is and see what it's like. There's so many families have dogs, but we're not reaching out to them.
Yeah, and I think you're right that there could be opportunities for at certain events like shows, Royal Easter shows or whatever, to have maybe demos or to specifically
Yeah.
be talking about juniors, not just about the sport.
Royal's a good one, yeah. Being able to voice that out. The Dog Lovers Festival that's happening next weekend would have been a good one as well, where say, "Hey, are you a junior? Are you a young person? You can come and join us. Like, come see what the fun is about. Come have fun with your dog." Because who doesn't like to do that? I mean, it's crazy to me that we don't do enough. I hate that when I go onto NKC, there's nothing about juniors and agility. Not a single thing, which isn't how it should be.
Yeah, and thinking about it, Crufts always does a feature on, juniors as well in multiple sports, but they do agility and obviously confirmation, as you're saying.
Yeah, so but crafts have, the UK, they have a whole so they have the YKC, so they have a whole separate kennel club, which is the Young Kennel Club, which is a part of the, um, actual kennel club, but it's a little branch off it where this is the Young Kennel Club, this is our junior competition, and they're able to compete in qualifications and all these big comps and all of that to be able to gain spots in the, finals for craft. So that's a really cool sort of atmosphere to be able to do. Um, that would be cool to do as well. Maybe even running sort of like a junior championship at nationals even.
Yeah, and I know the YKC supports those handlers to skill up and then both compete in those international junior comps. They can move into adult
Adult.
agility.
The transition's very easy over because they're already been built on the same sort of system. It's just been built towards being with kids,
Yeah.
which is a big difference. I know that when I started agility, being the only 13-year-old there, it was always like, "You're so young, you're so young." But you're always surrounded by older people. You never had younger people there.
Mhm.
And I love my friends at agility, but they're all 20 years older than me mostly, which which does make a difference. It does make a bit of a difference. I know that when because Cam List often comes and judges for us at Glenray, um, he came back from when I went over to camp, and when he came back, he said to everybody, "Molly was a kid. She acted like a kid, like she was a kid again. She was young. She wasn't as serious. She was just a kid," which I found, yeah, I did have a lot of fun with people my age.
And I know the YKC, I believe that the cutoff for them isn't even 18. I think it goes into the early 20s. So even that way it's
I think it's 21 over there.
and as we're saying, it's more of a support and building from junior into the adult program in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, really taking it. I believe they also separate. They have such a large community that they are able to do this, but I think they separate the juniors into classes as well. If they have like 18 to 21, they do separate them so they compete against people their own age, roughly.
Yeah.
Um, that would be cool to see. If we can get those sort of numbers here, that would be awesome to see.
Yeah, like a YKC final, like I've seen at Crufts, yeah, you could do something like that for nationals would be very
Yeah, it would be cool to see some sort of junior final sort of run at nationals where they've competed at these, like we were saying, that these runs across all the states at the same time, and they've gained these qualifications and they've gained a spot in the final,
Mm.
and now they compete at nationals in the final for juniors, and that could also be run alongside the teams event on
I
the
do
teams day.
recall
So
watching the teams because they ran this year at the nationals. They ran the juniors after all the other teams, and that was recall speaking to some of the organizing party about how they would change that and they would run it at this like part of the same
yeah,
system. So that because the other thing is then you get even less people watching, and so then how are you ever going to get people to care?
exactly, exactly. I don't like, obviously every person's different, but personally, when I was a junior, I actually wanted to try out for the senior team and not the junior team. Just because I like being competitive and I like versing people. So I do wonder about even adding a junior team to verse the senior team.
Yeah,
Like why are we separating them so much? Can they compete against the seniors and really show up? Like that's juniors are competitive. Like
yeah.
we're competitive. Young people are competitive.
Another option could be having a junior spot per state team. So it's like there's a junior spot, a
Yeah.
guarantee.
Yeah, it'll be fun to run and fun to maybe change some things up in the next few years. So I would really like to see some sort of junior final happening where it's a separate course set up for juniors and it's a junior
Yeah,
final where they've qualified for.
yeah, individually rather than team. Yeah.
Yeah, something where it's almost, you could almost run it on finals day, either team day or finals day, and put it on. You could even do it throughout the nationals competitions. I don't think it'll be that hard to make happen, but it's just gonna take the person to do it and push it.
Yeah,
So
I mean, as with anything, and as with you were saying before, like it might not be the biggest thing to start with, but you've got to
you
stick
gotta
with it.
start somewhere.
Mm.
You always have to start somewhere. I think Cam told me that the first camp they had 2 juniors, and then the next camp they had 5, and the camp after that they had 8. It's not gonna happen straight away, and we
Yeah.
can't be thinking that it's gonna happen straight away. It's gonna take a long while, but we gotta start it.
So, having been at the junior before, in as you were saying, amongst all the adults, what would you say to those sort of families, parents, and children that are interested in getting into agility? What's your general advice?
My general advice would be find a good trainer, um, find somebody you trust, but let the kid do it. Like, let them do it, let them learn, because you learn so much from dogs and animals. I don't think people realize how much you learn about behavior, about just life from our pet. I mean, I don't think I would have done half the things I've done in my life if it wasn't for my dogs. I would have never gone to New Zealand for a dog training camp if it wasn't for my dogs. I wouldn't know any of the people that I knew if it wasn't for my dogs. It brings out so much confidence in kids to be able to do stuff and be able to talk to people. One thing that is quite good is that I've always been so used to talking to so many different people because from such a young age, I was talking to people 20 years older than me. For so much of my life, I was talking to people so much older than me that it doesn't seem weird. I I think it brings out a lot of confidence and honestly just let them train the dog. Don't be so hands-on, let them learn, let them fail. Agility is a sport that will give you so many failures. So many. Because it's not a very forgiving sport with dogs. But when the success happens, it's massive. And I'm sure you can relate to the feeling of getting that first clear run with a dog and just that overwhelming joy of every run, honestly. It's just a partnership that will never break.
Yeah, fully agree. I really do think, I mean, as with any sort of sport activity, you learn a lot of other life skills. It's not all just the sport.
There's so many life skills in agility, so many. And it is an active sport. People often say that, oh, the person doesn't do much, but it is. It's a lot about multitasking because agility is fully multitasking. You're running, queuing, and trying to stay on your feet all at the same time. It's a hard thing to do while also trying to keep your dog focused on you. But yeah, I think it's a great sport for kids. And so many people have dogs, and it just hasn't been branched out enough. And there's companies that are willing to help. So
And so what did agility teach you? So thinking about your journey specifically, you mentioned, being able to communicate with lots of different people from a young age, but what else did you sort of learn during those junior years that's really stayed with you?
I think it taught me how to deal with failure. It taught me how to take failure and deal with it. Um, I I started out with Buddy, who, if you've seen that dog run, is a bullet. Like, he is powerful, fast, and strong. And he was a lot of dog. He was not an easy dog at all. So starting out with him, he made me almost want to quit. But he taught me how to work through failure and disappointment. And I've taken that on with my other dogs, and I'm far better with my other dogs now. But just being able to know how to work through that feeling is so valuable in life because you don't always get everything that you want. And
Yeah.
agility doesn't give it to you.
Yes, I think that failure piece is, and I've talked about it on this show before, I think it is really, really valuable for both dealing with the sport, which is very unforgiving, and just for dealing with different things in life as well.
Yeah, I think I said to one of the juniors who messed up one obstacle, I think it was, I said, but you did the other 21 obstacles perfect. 21 out of the 22 were perfect. That's something. That is massive. It takes a lot to get 100 out of 100. We know that. Test? How often do we get 100 out of 100 on test? Not too often for me. But in agility, it has to be 100 out of 100 to get that quali card. And it's not always going to be the case because the slightest little thing can drop a bar or turn your dog off an obstacle or just a little bit of a misstride and the dog's missed a contact. Sometimes you don't always get it, and that's okay.
So, finally, if you could go back and give your junior self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, that's a hard one. um, enjoy it. I was I do think that I was a little too serious at times. Um, let loose, enjoy it, have fun. Don't worry. I worried a lot about what other people thought, and my dog was a mental case. I'm like, "Oh, this is so embarrassing," but people don't care. Have your fun. You're in the ring with your dog. That's your time. Cherish it because they don't live forever. They're not here for a very long time. So when you go into that ring, just have fun. And I wish I knew that all that failure got me here. It got me to where I can walk out onto a course and have a lot of faith in my dog. But it didn't start out that way. And it definitely almost made me quit agility.
But you're stuck with it, and we're very thankful, especially for this
Yeah.
future junior program that I'm sure you're gonna get off the ground.
Get something going at some point.
I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what's gonna happen because I mean, the territory's much smaller, but, it would be cool to have at least a small version of it here too.
Yes, it's always hard because everybody lives so far away in this country, which is also the difference with with a lot of other countries that do agility. They have the advantage of they're not that far away from each other. Like it's a bit of a drive, but it's not terribly far. Whereas Australia, it's very far.
Yeah, or in the case of, like, the US is just as large, but it's got more population, so I think they have
Yeah,
easier time.
because they have two separate camps that run on the east and west coast.
Mm.
So they have two separate to cater for both of them, so they don't have the massive drives over, whereas I don't think we'll be able to do that just yet, but yeah, it'll be the hardest part is the distance between everybody, I think.
Yeah, but future goals.
Definitely. And I wish something like it existed when I was younger. I wish.
But it's great that now, having reflected on your experience as a junior, you've seen what needs to change, and I can hear that you're gonna be that person for the future of the juniors where they don't have to go through that, "Oh, I wish it existed," because 'cause you'll have made it happen.
Yeah, I hope I do. I hope I make some sort of difference in the sport. I'd love to give back to the sport for everything that it's given to me. Because I love agility. I always will. It's always been that comfort sport for me. I don't know, it's because like, it was almost also because not a lot of young people did it, so I got away from a lot of my friends in a way, but it was just a comfort sport. I love showing up and having fun with my dog, so I'd love to give something back to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we wish you all the best. And thank you so much for giving us your time today. I've really appreciated it. And I really enjoyed hearing all your thoughts about the future.
No problem. Yeah, always happy to talk.
This has been Flat Out Agility. Be kind to dogs.